Go live.
And that should get it working.
Hope so.
I'm like,
this
back up.
This gotta be easy. This got to be easy somehow. So how come I didn't get?
And just make sure you mute yourself here so you don't have an audio loop.
So how come I didn't get to do all of this?
It has everything saved.
Okay.
Both accounts were signed in, so it just looks like it was defaulting to a different account.
Okay. Where's that camera thing at? Don't want to turn off the camera.
You turn it off in here, so
Okay.
and then go to that meeting.
Admit him, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Go where?
Go to the YouTube again. Okay, it's just delayed. So just play.
Okay.
Yep. It's just about a 30-second delay on the action. So I was just making sure the camera went off.
Okay, so it's playing. So it's gonna be like on YouTube. It's on YouTube right now.
Yep.
Okay. Now this right here, I just hit whenever I'm ready, I just hit record, right?
Yeah.
To record it. Okay, no problem.
Wow.
Thank you.
Sure.
I'm not gonna be able to take notes, so I need to record it. Because I'm doing I can't take notes and operate this thing at the same time. So share screen, and this is what I'm gonna have to be sharing right here. But you see, it's coming up on the website. Oh, that stopped it from coming up on a website because it's on the thumb drive.
So go on the document, right click in Adobe, open in Adobe Reader.
That's right. Right click.
And go to the document. So click there.
Oh, okay. Oh, open with.
Yep. And then Adobe Rec Reader. Accept.
Okay, thanks. Let me just close off.
And then no.
No?
Yep.
Let me close out these. This one. So do I need to leave this up?
You can just minimize it. Just make sure you don't close it.
Okay.
Do you want to try? Do you want to try sharing it? Because I'm on here, I can see his. I can tell you if it works.
It's right now. It's on live. So if I share it, it's gonna
But you know how to share it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Just share screen. Okay. Let's just try it.
Yeah, it doesn't
Yep.
matter.
And then it's just you select the one you want.
This one. Okay, got it. I see it. So can I take off the side off of it? Let's see. Yeah, I can share it. Mm-hmm.
You share it
So you see it?
Yeah.
I gotta take this off right here. Can I take the side off?
With the little arrow.
Okay. Thanks. Oh.
And then you know how to get that back, right? Exit minimized.
Okay.
Then,
Why is he still connecting?
what do you mean? You can
Connecting to audio and
Yeah,
can't
he
hear
hasn't
you.
pressed that yet.
Okay. So I'm gonna share and let you see.
Yeah.
Are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent.
It's echo. Sorry.
You're gonna have to close your.
Yes.
mic? Is that what you do?
You're
Because you're
just
not.
gonna have to mute yourself.
Yeah.
You mute
Hi, this is the test of the audio.
It's just delayed, so about 30 seconds. Okay. You can mute yourself now.
Oh, there I am. Oops, that isn't on track. Thank you. Very much. Appreciate it. Is that water?
We're just testing
Parts of it.
the setup. Yeah. Yeah, we had trouble with the link this afternoon, late this afternoon, like an hour ago, that it was showing two different links to get into tonight's meeting. So a great effort by IT and a couple people was able to get things up and running.
You
So,
figure 2 links would be too complicated for us? Probably.
yeah. Especially after you saw the first one that said it was April.
Okay.
Okay, let's see.
All right, we're set. Bruce,
We're ready to go. Charlie is with me, so we do have a full board.
okay, that's great. Let's get started. Okay, welcome to the May 17th, 2021 meeting of the Yarmouth Board of Health. Please note
Volume
this is
down.
a remote participation meeting. Why don't we start off with the attendance?
How do you want it?
Good.
Mary, you here?
Present.
Deborah,
Present.
Eric,
Here.
Charlie,
Charlie's noting he's here. He's sharing a
Okay.
computer with me.
Director Murphy.
Present.
Okay, this all sounds good. Okay, let's go right to it. Number one is public comment. Do you have anyone who would like to speak tonight? And you want to address the board about anything? Any comments? Sounds quiet. Okay, we're down to number two. This is a hearing. It's for Char Custom Boat Company. Looks like there's a vote that's going to take place. This company is looking to start a business or already has a business, but looking to start fuel storage within the APD, better known as the Aquifer Protection District, or Zone 2, the Wellhead Protection Area over there. What's listed here is 11 Easy Street in Yarmouth Port. So it's the Board of Appeal that's going to look for our recommendation of how to handle this. So this evening, I think we have Attorney Tarnoff to present the case to us. You're on, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Not sure what's happened there, but you can hear me, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. All right. So there's 11 Easy Street right there. Just so you'll have your bearings about you. It's across the street from the IFAR building, and Easy Street is that new circle that's being constructed, and it consists of 3 separate lots. So I just want to also introduce Mr. Bedurtha, Robert Bedurtha, who is the manager of that LLC. He's on the call as well. He's the potential purchaser. And also attorney Matt Snell, who's an attorney from Nutter, McLennan and Fish. He's here as well. We are appearing before you because we do want to go to the Yarmouth Board of Appeals from here. We are in possession of the memorandum from Mr. Lawson. And we've been working with Mr. Lawson on this since probably September of 2020 in anticipation of site plan review, which took place in October. Because we are proposing a use which requires a special permit in the Aquifer Protection District, because we propose to maintain more than household quantities on the site, we were asked to appear before you to discuss that, and specifically with regard to spill plans and secondary containment. We're hoping that we can demonstrate that we are willing to take all the steps that are necessary to ensure that the APD is not going to be harmed for the time that we occupy the property at least. As you can see, that yellow area is the Easy Street. That's the number 11. The subdivision plan was actually approved by the Yarmouth Planning Board in 2018. This lot actually contains a little bit more than 44,000 square feet with frontage on that new road called Easy Street. The applicant, well, the person who is out, the entity that's actually purchasing the property is a entity known as RJBR LLC, which is owned by Mr. Bedurtha as well. He also owns and operates the business known as Char Custom Boats, which is just down the street on Corporation Road, right around the bend. That he owns and operates that business. He performs boat maintenance and also imports boats, which are retrofitted for American standards. During the winter months, he gets a lot of requests for boat storage, and that's the purpose of what we're trying to do tonight. So what we're proposing is to build a boat storage operation at that property, which will be stored on gravel, primarily during the winter months. Obviously, everyone's using their boats in the summertime. And as shown on the site plans, the proposed storage yard will be fenced and monitored by security cameras, and also have some very low lighting. The plan submitted, which shows the general location of boats on the lot, was done for demonstration purposes, and that's the one you're looking at right now on the screen. For purposes of calculating the number of gallons to be stored, we use the number of up to 65 average size boats, which are typically about 25 feet long, with an average gallon containment of 110 gallons. And although we're asking for that amount of gallons, we do not want to limit the number of boats to 65. Obviously, smaller boats, we could put more smaller boats on there. And actually, the smaller the boat gets, most of those gas tanks are removed from, and there are no gas tanks at all on the boats. They'll be removed before they get to the site. So we're hoping that what we can do is have the limitation be represented in the number of gallons that we're looking for, not to exceed that amount, and not so much the number of boats, because we can put a few more boats on there than what is shown on this plan. This was just for demonstration purposes. The initial proposal, including what we proposed back in site plan review, was to leave the boat's bilge plugs open in the wintertime, so that if any water got
Oh, did he froze?
cracking of tanks inside the boat. So we were trying to avoid that. And I know that's what's been permitted in the past. But then, there were some objections raised by the town with regard to the number of gallons and some of the fear of that number of gallons being allowed on the site. So that's when Attorney Snell and his team went to look at how we could address this under the statute and how we could make it safe for the APD. So now the plan is to leave the bilge plugs closed so that any release is contained within the boat rather than discharging it to the ground. The plan also is to have char would ensure that each boat is stored at the property is shrink wrapped to prevent excess water from accumulating in the boat, and also offsetting the secondary storage potential of the bilge. Char proposes to implement an inspection program of each boat stored on the property to confirm that no water or fuel accumulated in the bilge, and for the removal and offsite disposal of any of those liquids. Inspections would occur every other week when the boats are stored at the property. Although the boats will be shrink wrapped, Char will include a sealed entrance that allows for the visual inspection of the interior. So actually, it's made out of the same material as the shrink wrap, but it does have a zippered door that can be accessed over and over again, but still protect from the elements. So those will be part of each of the boats that are stored there. No maintenance except for to secure and transport the boat to and from the property would be conducted on the property. And a log of those inspections would be maintained and available for review by the town. So there's no standard bilge size for these boats, but we understand that the typical bilge or the fuel tank cavity would contain more than this volume of fuel should a tank release occur, which is one of the requirements that usually looking for is some secondary containment. DEP's performance standards for protection of drinking water supplies are not specific as to the method required. So that's why we're asking you if we could approach this unique property this way. So we're hoping that you will agree that the drinking water will not be compromised. The fuel in the boats are going to be, number one, above the ground level. Number two, within an impervious container. And three, the containment capacity of each boat exceeds 110% of the boat's fuel tank. With regard to the business itself, the site is not going to be staffed, nor is it accessible to customers. When people want their boat, a Char employee will go and retrieve that off of the trailers. Site is going to be fenced and monitored. Only boats are stored on that site. There will be no boat maintenance, repair, or washing occurring on the site. In accordance with the fire department regulations, the fuel tanks on these boats must be stored at least 95% full. as we said, all the boats will be shrink wrapped and fitted with the zippered plastic door to allow access. We've reviewed the 14 health department recommendations in Mr. Lawson's memorandum, and we have no problem with those. I do have probably a question, maybe it's a drafting question. There's some question with regard to number 10 and number 14 in there. Number 10 requires that all fuel and water be removed from the boat immediately. Number 14 says if there's any liquids in there that the boat would be removed and then the liquids removed. So we just want some clarity on that. But for the most part, we have no objection to the conditions that Mr. Lawson has indicated in his memorandum. So based on the number of boats and the average size, we calculated approximately 7,150 gallons. But again, to be safe, we'd add a little bit more capacity in the case to 7,500 gallons. And this has traditionally been a practice of the board to allow a little extra so that if there's a boat here and there, that we're not going to be in technical violation immediately. So, I think it's easy to be startled by the number of gallons we're asking for, but again, you take into consideration the type of business we're talking about and how the materials are stored. If the business does comply with these conditions, I think there's no reason to believe there'll be any risk to the aquifer anymore if they were storing a minimum amount of gallons. And I think we can all agree that the oversight provided has created a minimal risk in that regard. I think the plan eliminates the risk to anything being spilled in the ground at all. So we would like to have your recommendation to proceed to the Zoning Board of Appeals with this plan. And if you have any questions, again, Mr. Badurtha, Mr. Snell here, and I am here hopefully to answer your questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming in tonight. That's great. So board members, I'm sure you have some questions. Take a look and also read through all the materials in the packet. So why don't we start?
Yes, I'll go first.
Right.
So my question was and I don't know a ton about boats. So this is just from everything that I read in the packet. So the bilge plugs are going to be closed. So in the original, you had asked for them to be open, and you didn't want them closed because there could be damage to the boat. Is that correct?
Well, I think there's a fear that if every boat let go at the same time and all of these gallons were to spill and go out the bilge plug, then yeah, you'd have fuel possibly in the ground.
Sure, no, I understand that. And if the bilge plug is closed and there's it freezes, could the boat be damaged?
The boat could be, but yes, it could, but that's the purpose of the monitoring every 2 weeks, to make sure that any collection is noted, removed, so there's no damage to the boats, which would then lead to a safer containment system for the fuel there.
Sure, and would be an every other week inspection?
That's correct.
Okay, and then I guess my only other question was the fuel in the boats is above ground. I get that. And we're saying that the boat is an impervious container.
Well, the way these tanks work is that they're built into the boat. I mean, first of all, the odds and the chances that any leakage would occur are slim to none. Otherwise, we'd be spilling fuel all over the ocean.
No, I understand. I'm just talking specifically about this proposal.
It would be its own containment system. Yes, that's correct. It would act as its own containment system.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Who's responsible for prepping the boats for storage? Is that done by Char, the company?
Yes.
So they would be removed. I mean, do you know if it's standard procedure to remove the batteries from the boats prior to winter storage?
I'm not sure if the batteries get removed, but I know they're probably disconnected. I can maybe have Mr. Badurtha, he can answer that question quite easily.
I think my main reason for asking that question is because I presume most of these boats are equipped with bilge pumps. And if there were some type of accumulation of water that could potentially have fuel or engine sludge, and it accumulates to a certain level, the bilge pump would, exit the water from the bilge if it were hooked up to electricity. So that was really the reason for that question. But I presume it's standard procedure to either disconnect the batteries or remove them, but that would be good to know, I think.
Yeah, I believe so. And I don't know if Mr. Bedurf can get unmute himself and maybe answer that. Maybe.
Maybe not.
This is Matt Snell. I'll jump in. My understanding from them was that the electronics are disconnected.
Is that better?
Yeah, there we go.
The batteries are all disconnected. So when the boats are decommissioned, we disconnect all the batteries. So there's no power to anything in the boats once they go to storage.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are the properties this Char Custom Boat Company own?
Well, they own, they operate out of the right around the corner at Corporation Road. They have their own facility there where they have a permitted and licensed and approved boat wash area. They also have their internal repair facility there. That's all licensed and permitted by this board as well as the zoning board of appeals. And so this is another option for his clients. Rather than moving these boats elsewhere to keep them handy, you can do everything right there and then store them right on this site, right around the corner.
Reading over the material, there was emphasis on maintenance and cleaning and so on was not going to be taking place.
That's right. No, I think not on this site.
Right. My point is, it's actually still going to take place in the aquifer. That's all.
It is, but around the corner at a place that's already licensed for that purpose.
It's my understanding that didn't come to the Board of Health as far as I know. Just to the point of interest to you, that bypassed the Board of Health.
I have a memorandum from Mr. Murphy that he prepared for that project, and it was presented at the Zoning Board of Appeals.
So you're agreeing with me then it wasn't presented to this board?
Well, your board was aware of it. I have to assume if the memo came from Mr. Murphy that you were aware of it.
Well, we can look into that, but that was my understanding. And so I think it's an important point to make is that the maintenance, whether it's happening in the corporation there in the park or whether it's happening on Easy Street, it's really the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some additional conditions that took place, and plus he has a building there that I think that the facility is a little different than this one would be.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the whole storage issue. These boats are primarily going to be stored during the winter months, but will it also be temporary in and out type storage also during the summer months, spring, fall?
The plan is that probably will not happen, as most of the people who have those boats want to use them in the warm weather. So they're usually unwrapped, dropped in the water, and they're used for the whole summer season.
So there wouldn't be boats that were there unwrapped because the winter was over, but people were going to be taking them in and out?
No, it's too much work to take them in and out and then shrink wrap them again. So they usually stay where they are for the summer.
Thank you.
This application is quite different than other ones that the board has seen in sense of quantities
I don't see a
of
problem with this. I've read the whole thing.
toxic materials. Charlie, do you have a question?
No, I don't have a question. I don't see a real big problem with this whole setup. I've read the literature and it all makes sense. The thing that I thought of first was if I was going to store a boat, last thing I'd do is store it with fuel. But Bruce says that the state decides that they got to be full tanks, which doesn't make sense to me, but you know, if I was going to store a boat, the last thing I'm going to leave is fuel in the tanks.
Yeah, I had the same reaction to that, Charlie, but apparently it has to do with decreasing the amount of space in a tank for vapors, and I guess, which is a greater risk.
What risk?
There's someone here who probably knows more about boats than I do, if you want to take that.
I know you can develop condensation in the tank as the temperature fluctuates. So, I mean, as far as I know, it's pretty standard practice to maintain a full tank, so there's no room for water vapor to form in there.
Thanks, Eric.
I mean, that could be totally wrong. That's always been my family's practice as a voters.
Yeah, as I was starting to say, it's a very different application than what this board has seen recently. We saw one for a hardware store over there that wanted to have a painting business that was over at Station Ave, and we're talking of really minimal quantities, but it was more than was allowable in order to have some oil-based paints and so on for the store, true value. And then we had a floor refinishing company that needed some more product on the floor, I think. It may have been for sales. So a very different scale than what we're looking at tonight. Mary.
I have a question. When I went over today to look at the site, Millway Marina is there in the area, and they have a large lot, 2 lots adjacent, full of boats. And I can't recall the specifics of what their business is there. If those are boats being stored, or are they ready to be repaired, or what's going on with that operation?
Carl, maybe you can answer that for us.
Yes, Millway Marina has been in that area for about 8 or 10 years. They did go before the Board of Health for handling storage of toxic materials in excess of the household amounts typically allowed in the APD, and they have a maximum threshold they're allowed. So there might be a few boats stored on the property. It's not a very big property that allows for a lot of storage. And most of the boats are in and out for repair, meaning on and off the property for short periods, most of them.
Okay, it's more than a few boats there, but yeah, if they're on and off, okay, I just couldn't figure out what the status of the boats that were there was.
I believe a few might be stored for a longer period, like over the winter.
I mean, maybe, Mary, I saw what you saw as well, and I'm not sure we're pointing out to Carl correctly, but we go up to that corporation, there's a split there. You go left or right. If you go right and heading down on the left side, there must have been over 50 boats there, freeze wrapped out in the field somewhere. That's what I saw. I don't know who owns those boats or what company is storing them. I don't know, but it was a very large field with boats.
Mr. Chairman, just out of my own knowledge, I know that Ship Shops also owns a lot there and has also been permitted for storage of boats there. And that's probably what you're speaking about.
Yes, I think I can clarify that a little bit. The right side of the road, the right side of Enterprise Road, has Millway Marina's shop with a little bit of storage on site. Across the street Right, like Attorney Tardif said, those are two other entities there. It's not Millway Marina.
So we have precedent for having boat storage on the Aquifer Protection District,
Yes,
but not to this volume of hazardous material, correct? This would be the largest.
I don't know if that's the case. There's also another one. As Carl was saying, you get to the split and you take the right, and on the corner, there's a gymnastics building.
Mhm.
And right
Right.
after that gymnastics building on the left is another lot that was also permitted for boat storage. I don't know what's there, and I didn't go by today, and I don't know what's there, but I know that that has also been permitted. So there are at least two properties in that same development that have been permitted for boat storage.
are you referring to the building that's next door to the gym or across the street from the gym?
Right next door to the gym.
That, I mean, it's a tremendous building. I mean, for, that could be in-house storage, I suppose, the very tall bays. I don't know if that's the one I'm thinking of.
I'm not sure if you're speaking of the A1 contractor, the framing or the forms,
No,
foundation forms. No,
Right, I know that company there.
Right.
Yeah.
we've dealt with them.
yeah, no, we're talking about 12 Enterprise Road.
Okay, I can't
And-
picture.
and
So is it
that-
just land there, free land right now, or?
Well, at least when this was approved in October of '08, it was land, and I know it was for the storage of boats. And at that point, the thinking in the town was that the bilge plugs should be left out. And so that's where this proposal started, which was to just look at what they approved in the past and go with that. And then, I think things have changed a bit. So that might be an explanation for what happened, but I can tell you there were two permits issued.
No, keep it there so they can see you.
Actually, almost on the same day, almost on the same hearing date at the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Oh,
I'll just mention right now here, Mr. Chairman, maybe Kyle can give a little background on the history of how those went in, Kyle? Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Yes, the two lots that I believe everyone's referring to, the correct addresses, I believe, to be 12 Enterprise Road and 18 Enterprise Road. So if one drives down Enterprise Road, you'll see the industrial buildings on the right side, of which one is Millway Marina. But that's the only Millway Marina installation on that road. The other side of the road, 12 and 18, are two lots that have open air boat storage that was installed approximately 2007 without health department review. And without, I believe without site plan review. I believe the procedural track for those two projects started with the Board of Appeals.
But I can tell
There
you
was
that
no Board of
both,
Health review.
I can tell you that both of these decisions that I'm looking at them, both reference health department input on both of these.
They do not come before the Board of Health review is what I'm referring to. It was never heard before the board.
I see.
I mean, the big issue, of course, is, I mean, we've got 5 volunteers here and Board of Health, and our responsibility is maintain the health of people living here and the environment. And the question is, what would the community want? What's best for them? And what's, as you pointed out, that the volume is seems very astronomical. We're talking about 7,500 gallons of a toxic liquid over our drinking water. So it's pretty striking to me, and we need to take it very seriously. We're talking about the health of the people who are living here. So this is our only source of drinking water. And so I'm in conflict here. you know, the boats are outside. The risk is for hurricanes, for sure. And most of them aren't giant ones, but they're very common here, as well as tropical storms. But the more dangerous ones, obviously, are the volume of rain and winds of hurricanes. And they come, there's probably one recorded in New England a year, if not more, in the last 20 years. So the boats are vulnerable. The liquid is vulnerable to wind. So if the boats are blown over, I don't know enough about structure of the boats, but there's a risk there, a significant one. They're sitting on sandy soil. Gasoline flows pretty quickly through that to the wells. So that's our responsibility as a board, is to be evaluating a risk to something pretty important, obviously.
Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'm going to ask Mr. Bedurtha again to get on and just talk about basically what these boats go through when they're in the water, instead of sitting on a trailer, not in motion. I think that they're built to withstand anything that you're talking about. Plus, most of those storms are occurring in the fall when the boats are still in the water anyway. But I don't know if Mr. Bedurtha can get on and explain a little bit about the durability of these boats and how these tanks are set up inside the boats.
Well, the fuel systems in all of these boats are regulated by the ABYC, which dictates and regulates and tells the boat manufacturers so that they follow the appropriate guidelines of how the fuel tanks are installed, the thickness of the tanks, and so on and so on. So I think when it comes to how rugged a boat is going to be, I think you need to think about what people do with an actual boat on the open ocean, as opposed to it sitting on the ground. So, I think it's hard. I think the idea of a boat tipping over on the ground and a fuel tank rupturing, it would never stand the test of time on the open ocean.
I guess my image wasn't it just falling off over. It's going to be thrown over someplace else down the road. That's all. That was my image. Not that it's going to tilt over. I imagine that impact would not be that great compared to conditions perhaps in the ocean out there in the water. And the leakage, if it did leak, you're talking about in the ocean, salt water versus fresh water, drinking water. If a boat was destroyed. I think those are quite different.
Well, I think too, I mean, if you look, and again, I'm in the boat business, but most situations where you have boats damaged by hurricanes are more apt to happen because of the location and the proximity to the water, because of the high tides. They tend to float off the stands. Boats that are set on the ground in a landlocked area, it's very rare that they would blow over in a hurricane. That's not something that would necessarily happen. And as the owner and someone who's entrusted with these boats, we're responsible for the boats and our customers trust us. And, we set them in a way that they're not, I don't see that as, I mean, I understand your question, but I don't necessarily see that as a concern.
So I have a question regarding the inspection of the boats. Is that bi-weekly?
Yes.
That would be
So-
every other week.
I understand that that's like a, sort of a good faith gesture, but realistically, I have some concerns about the practicality of that, because that's going to take somebody a really long time you're probably going to have to carry a ladder with you and set it up next to each vessel, climb up the ladder, get into the boat, and then open up whatever cavity grants you visual access to the bilge. So I'm just wondering, realistically, if that's going to happen thoroughly on a bi-weekly basis. I mean, that's a lot, that would take a really long time to do to 75 vessels, wouldn't it?
I
I
think
mean, I have a boat, so you have to get into the stern and remove seats and stick your head down in the bilge in order to perform a visual inspection. So I'm wondering what are the specifics of the inspection? Is it just poke your head inside the boat or smell for gasoline, or is it to actually open up the bilge and perform a visual inspection?
Well, I mean, it's going to take someone probably, half a day, 3/4 of the day to go boat to boat. But as you know, gasoline, you can smell gasoline. So if there is a leak, you're going to smell it. So I mean, that is the immediate thing that would happen. But to open a bilge and look in a bilge, does it take 5 or 10 minutes? Maybe. But it shouldn't take any more, than that to go into a boat and look.
I had
The,
a
sorry.
question.
Sure.
So, I read all the material, and then I also read the report by Kleinfelder. And what really stuck with me was the groundwater protection recommendations in this
Right.
person's opinion.
Right.
And I'm gonna read it just because if people at home don't see this. It says, in my opinion, the collective storage represented by the boats within the Zone 2 is a potential substantial risk to the aquifer. An event such as a fire, hurricane, or vandalism has the potential to result in a significant release of fuel to the aquifer supplying the town wells. Due to the nature of the aquifer and the highly mobile properties of certain gasoline constituents, hope I read that right, even the release of 1 tank of fuel, 100 gallons, has the potential to threaten nearby wells. That's kind of where I'm at, just based on similar to what Hillard said.
I agree, Deborah. That struck me also.
And I believe it says this is near almost, and I can't find it now, and I did highlight, I don't know what happened. It's near close to 8 sources of drinking water-ish that it would actually affect should 100 gallons of gasoline be spilled. Am I right? Am I wrong? I think I'm right.
Mr. Snell, he might be able to address some of that.
Sure. I think first of all, the Kleinfelder report was from before with the revised proposal, if I'm correct. And that then, maybe Mr. Lawson can weigh on that they looked at the revised proposal after we submitted it as something different. And an option to provide a secondary level of containment on the site. So that may change that a little bit. And I think as to the overall volume, I think that we need to remember this isn't a single storage tank containing 7,000 gallons of gasoline, so that if there's a hole in it, it leaks and it's into the ground. It's a series of vessels that added up, as similar to a parking garage where you'd have a bunch of cars. So that the total the potential for a release is significantly smaller than that larger volume. And then second, I think as we were talking about the hurricane and tipping over, the boats are designed to take on that punishment and things, and it seems unlikely that that's a potential source of a catastrophic release. And then in terms of vandalism and things, I think to release from the fuel, and Mr. Bedurtha we've actually spoken about this, you'd have to puncture not only the tank within the vessel, you'd have to puncture the hull of the vessel for it to come out. So that we're trying to address, that potential concern by having security, having a fence, having cameras. We talked about low lighting lights at the outset, and having the potential to also have motion detector lights with higher lights. We obviously don't want to light the place up, like Walmart parking lot 24 hours a day, but, having those security measures also, taken all together, it's not as if somebody walks by and pokes a hole in a single tank and 7,000 gallons goes. Was the intent of the proposal, and being out there on a regular basis to inspect.
Who monitors the security cameras?
We use Cape Cod Alarm, and they're recorded with a recording device.
And someone is watching them
I
real time?
No, but if there was to be an incident, we could go back and rewind and find out what happened. But no, there's not someone that monitors them 24/7.
So there's no way to tell if something is happening in real time, unless you happen to be there or somebody drives by and notices.
I mean, I guess my answer to that is I'm not quite sure what would happen, but if something were to happen, it would be caught on camera and we would go from there.
So, but you don't know to review the tapes unless you know something has happened?
I wouldn't assume that something was going to happen. So I don't have a reason to watch the tapes. We've agreed to inspect the boats every other week. But again, I would have to look at or watch or monitor the tapes.
I think that the intent of the security cameras and making it known that the site is secure and things is to deter. It's not intended to be a 24-hour a day secure facility. And certainly I think the cost to do that would probably be prohibitive, and it's not intended that we're thinking that somebody's out looking to break in and looking to cause damage. It's as you would kind of in typical business have security measures and things, for any business, that someone's not sitting there watching the front door 24 hours a day.
Thank you.
Hey, Mr. Chairman?
Sure.
Yeah, I was just hoping we could get back to that question with regard to the environmental report that Ms. Brunage was reading from, to see if Mr. Lawson can confirm that was whether that was for the prior or the initial proposal or for the second proposal that we're making tonight.
Yes, the report that Ms. Brunage read, the Kleinfelder report, that was dated November 23rd. So that was regarding the initial proposal. However, the points she made would apply to either proposal. They're talking about, possible threat to the aquifer. Even the release of one tank of fuel, approximately 100 gallons, has a potential to threaten a nearby well. And the proximity of the wells don't change with the revised proposal. But the revised proposal does offer more protection through the secondary containment provided through a combination of the hull with the bilge plugs in place. So yes, I feel the first Kleinfelder letter is still relevant because it talks about the threat of certain quantities and geographic location, proximity to wells, but it's not considering the bilge plugs in place in the hull. So.
Carl, how do you feel about this as the hazardous waste inspector?
I'm sorry, Eric, how do I feel regarding which
just
particular,
in terms of the risks associated with the location of this, given the proximity to the aquifer? I mean,
well, given the proximity to the aquifer, that's where I defer to the hydrogeologist. But as a hazardous waste inspector, what they're proposing should work. If there are bilge plugs in place and secure, then it should capture any fuel that might release through a rotted fuel line or whatever else might go wrong with the boat. So the fuel should be contained and then discovered by the CHAR staff who are doing the routine inspections.
Thank
You're welcome.
Going back to what Hill had said earlier, this proposal is certainly a much larger volume of hazardous materials than we have dealt with, and we have spent just as much time with some much smaller projects. So this one is of greater concern to me, but also is the fact that there are these other locations out in that area that that also can be of concern. So I would like to consider perhaps putting a, depending on what we decide on this, or even what we decide on this, putting a moratorium or a cap on the number of this kind of facility that could be put out there. And I know that I hesitate to do that because that land is obviously not going to be good for much else but this kind of purpose. And I'd like to see it utilized. I like to see it be part of the economy, but I drink the water from there, and it really does concern me.
Certainly an education here tonight for all of us. And board members, more questions, thoughts, so we can decide what to do here tonight on this. It's our responsibility to vote on this as a recommendation, the Board of Appeal. So no other questions. We can make a motion here, someone. As usual, when you make a motion or your second motion doesn't mean you're voting for it, but it's just part of the process.
Hillard, I'd like to go back to something that Attorney Tardif said earlier.
Sure.
They had some questions about numbers 10 and 14, and I wonder if Carl could go ahead and address their question or their request for clarity on those before we make a motion.
Mary, just 1 second. Can we bring that up on the screen? Because I don't have a hard copy in front of me of this, just so everyone can look at it.
Okay.
Are we able to do that?
10 just says any fuel or water found in the bilges must be removed from the site and properly disposed. And 14 says any boat in which fuel is discovered in its bilge must be removed from the site, inspected and repaired. I'm not sure what isn't clear about that, but I'd like to have them have the opportunity to ask Carl to explain it if it needs it.
I can.
I'm sorry, Paul.
I just want to let you know what my confusion was on that is I just, as this is a procedural condition, I just want to make sure that if the water, looking at number 10, any fuel or water found in the bilges must be removed from the site and properly disposed, which we understand. But are we to remove the boat first and then remove the item or the fuel or water, or are we to remove the fuel and water where it's found?
Well, those two items were mentioned in the letter from Nutter Law by Mr. Snell. So we think they're a good idea, and we wanted to formalize those conditions. That's why we listed them as conditions. Now, regarding what should happen first, it's not specified in the letter, and I had nothing more to offer the consultants. So it seems to me you'd probably want to remove the liquid first before the boat was moved, where maybe the liquid could slosh around. But if you prefer to do things differently, in other words, remove the boat with water and fuel in place in a bilge, then I think I should, reconfer with the consultants.
So
is that agreeable to you to remove any liquid first and then remove the boats for repair?
If I may, this is Matt Snell again. I think that the way that we were trying to describe it in the letter was meant to be that if there's water or fuel found, it'll be removed. And then if there's fuel found, the boat will be removed to figure out, where that came from. I think so that there's just a slight difference there. Obviously, we want to remove any water that we find, obviously, so there's no damage to the boat. But if there's fuel found, that would obviously also be removed. And then the boat will be taken and inspected to what is the source of that fuel. I think it was a slight difference. But I see that where you're getting to. So I think that would probably be the recommendation for 10 to say water and fuel been removed. And then if fuel is discovered in number 14, the boat would be taken and inspected off-site.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, any water found in the bilges would be removed from the stationary boat on site, am I right?
Correct.
Correct. And where would that water be disposed? Would that go to a treatment plant or?
I think it depends on what it is. If it's just water with no fuel or anything in it, it could probably otherwise be disposed, not dumped on the ground, obviously, but otherwise be disposed. But if it has fuel in it, it clearly needs to go off-site and be disposed in a treatment facility.
And where would the boat go for the inspection?
It would go to Char's facility on Corporation Drive. I assume that's where it would go.
So that's where the damaged boat would go then?
Yeah. Where they have a building and facility to work on a boat.
Right. The point I'm making, it's around the corner, it's still in the aquifer. That's all.
Well, they do have a basin there that has a tight tank attached to it. That's the special part about that building, is that it has a facility that other places do not. So that even if they wash boats, everything drains down into a tight tank. And that's not released into the ground at all.
Right. Thank you.
Okay, so is everyone in agreement about how these will be handled, or are there still questions?
I raised the question, and I'm comfortable now.
Okay.
Mr. Lawson, thank you.
You're welcome.
Board members, what's up?
Well, I will say it looks like a lot classier facility for storing boats than some of those other places I saw today. I mean, it looks like it's going to be well done.
You want to make a motion? We can progress here tonight.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the application.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
I'd like to amend that, if I may, that all 14 conditions and position statements be included in any of our Board of Health decisions that go on to the ZBA.
Charlie, that's okay with you?
Yep.
Okay, so
Second.
seconded, okay. So it's this, once again, this vote will go back to Board of Appeals, and they can make, the final decision. Okay, so all in favor of the motion, just raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Maybe say your name is okay, Charlie.
Eric.
Okay, Mary. Mary? Did we lose sound here, or am I out?
I can hear you.
You can.
Yep.
I'm voting no on this. I just don't feel comfortable. I would tell the public if there's a disaster there, and I'm responsible for voting for it. So I'm against right
I'm
now.
also
So
a no. I'm a no.
it's 2-2. Okay.
Right. I'm also a no. That's why I didn't respond when you.
Okay, I'm
asking.
sorry about that. Mary, you're right. That would have been clearer. I apologize. Okay, so that's motion fails, then it's 3-2 against the motion. Motion fails. So there's the decision. We're not, so our recommendation to Board of Appeals is not to grant permission to store the boats there.
So just for clarity, Mr. Chairman, can the Board of Appeals, do they have the ultimate say on this? We're just giving a recommendation.
Yes, because it's a potential health issue. That's the reason why it comes through us. That's the only reason. Obviously, we're all learning about boats here tonight. You probably know more than the rest of us. That's all. It's only a recommendation. It's up to them. That's all.
Right.
Okay, so that's that. Thank you, everyone, for coming in tonight. Let's go ahead. On the agenda, it's number 3 here, and we have an update. It's on the coronavirus. That's generally Director Murphy who starts us off here. Bruce, thank you.
Just give me a second to get situated right here. Just one sec. Hold that for a second, Erica.
Take your time. Take your time.
Oh, don't. You're too quick. Okay. All right, no, go ahead. Go to that first. Okay, right there. Okay, just one second. Yeah. Let's make sure I'm on. Okay, board members, just to bring you up, effective today, 11 a.m. today, Governor Baker made a announcement on the reopening and lifting all restrictions on effective end of the month, May 29th, before Memorial Day. So I just wanted to get that out there first. The restrictions, if you want to just scroll down a little bit, Erica, the face covering is rescinded. However, would still be mandatory in public transportation, taxis, ferries, railroad, healthcare and facilities, congregate care. Face coverings will still be required indoors for staff and students K through 12. Okay, just scroll down a little bit more. Outdoor activities, their face coverings are not required at the schools. May 29th, all the requirements on youth activities wearing face masks are lifted. And again, May 29th, dining outdoor at all summer camps and guidance will be updated to reflect the change also. So basically, it's back to normal, according to the governor on May 29th. And then on June 15th, the governor plans to end the state of emergency. So we're still understanding and trying to get updates from the state, but it pretty much boils down to the way I'm hearing it and seeing it is we're back to normal on the 29th.
That's on regulations. The pandemic's not over.
That's correct. That's correct. People that still have health concerns, or there's still a percent of people that have not been vaccinated. So I'm sure people that have health concerns still should probably consider taking precautions. So, that's something that we'll follow closely. As we go to the next couple slides, go ahead. We see our number of cases as of last Friday go all the way down. There you go. Our cases have really declined steadily in Yarmouth. And we're on last Friday, we were down to only 5 cases. And we hadn't had 5 cases back until November 6th. So it's been 6+ months that we have been that low. So you can see, obviously, the third wave came down and is still decreasing. So on the next slide, as of Friday, we were down to the 5 active cases with an overall, since the pandemic, started of 1,569. Keep going down. The deaths have remained the same at 34 based on the town clerk's death certificates. And we have not had a recent death reported. Okay, overall, go ahead. Overall COVID by village. Again, we can see it pretty well. That has been community spread and continues on community spread between West Yarmouth, South Yarmouth, and Yarmouthport being less based on population. Thank you. Go ahead, next slide. There you go. The third case is a waste cases that we've been tracking since the end of April to last week. We can see that the number of cases have really declined. We've had no cases in the age 70 and above, and then just very few cases over the last 3 weeks in the lower age groups. It's interesting that we did have some cases in the 0 to 10, which was our highest number of cases in town. So based on that, we still need to take precautions that I keep mentioning it at, go ahead, at our each meeting, that the precautions, people still need to avoid gatherings. We still do have COVID in the community. Dinner parties, birthday parties, sleepovers, play dates. COVID is still out there, so precautions, need to be taken now over the next 2 weeks, and then people will be needed to make a determination based on the increased vaccination rates within the community and their health conditions. So precautions are still needed, and based on that, the next couple slides will show some areas that we had concern on. Okay. The first one, we did have a birthday party, age 5, had a positive case from the birthday party, which then affected the daycare and put 23 daycare students, children, into home quarantine. So again, birthday parties are still a concern. It does spread. In this case, it did affect a daycare center in Yarmouth. The next positive case that we had was from a sleepover on the other end of the age group a little bit, age 17, having a sleepover with several students. And that, go ahead, that put 2 positives with 5 quarantines, students out of school. So precautions are still needed. We're doing better. This age group is right now not vaccinated. Precautions need to be taken by the children and their parents. That brings us to the vaccine slides. Okay, where do we sit last week on our vaccinations? Why don't we go all the way down? Yeah, the first column right here in the light blue is individuals with at least 1 dose. And that has been increasing, that we see that at least the 1 dose, age 75 and above is 94% that it has 1 dose. 65 to 74, 86%. And then it drops down, and that's basically because the vaccine now is available for this age group. So go down just a little bit so we can see the total vaccine in town of our population of 24,000. We've had 15,000 people with at least 1 dose. So we're at 65% within town within 1 dose. If we kind of go to the next slide, we'll look at it as the number of people getting a dose per week as it's gone down to the lower age group. So I think what we see is the 0 to 19 has been steady getting vaccine in that group is coming up. The 20 to 29 has come up. They've kind of lowered off, but they've been steady over 100. The 30 to 49 has also been increased. They've come down a little the last week. And then the age group of 65 to 74 is still getting people vaccinated, even the 75 and over. So if we look back down all the way to the bottom, we can see the number of people that have been vaccinated over the last by week over the last 4 weeks. So, you know, we had the over 1,000 people, which was terrific. Then it's come down to 600, now to 400. But we feel this week the vaccinations will be going up because we'll be also doing two things. One is doing it to offering it at the high school, and we'll open it up to all students age 12 and above, along with parents and family members at the high school this Friday. So that's going to be, we were going to do 2 clinics, but when they lowered the Pfizer to children under 12, we've combined both clinics into one large clinic at the high school, and we'll start this Friday. A link is going out for parents to sign up. Should be going out tonight from the school to all their students, and they will send a notice out also on their email blast and emails to all the students and their parents. So we sent a tentative one out to see if they would sign up, and we had a fair response, a little lower than we're hoping for. So we'll send it out again tonight. We'll be ready to go this Friday. Should the response still be low, in a day or so, I will reach out to the Chamber of Commerce and the seniors so we can also resend it out to some more people in the public. So we'll get out that. We're working with the county health department nurses who will be providing, excuse me, the Pfizer vaccine, along with the medical reserve people assisting up there, along with health department staff at the high school. I also think with a lot more of the vaccine in the clinics that are either at the Melody Temp, Cape Cod Hospital Healthcare or Community Health, the clinics are almost being like walk-ins now to make appointments. So, excuse me, we are reaching it out in the community more. So I thought this was a interesting chart that I'm going to try to at least follow the next couple of weeks to see how our immunizations by age group breaks down, vaccinations. Okay. Our homebound, we finished up last week, and I want to say we did about 90. We were planning on about 150, but some of them weren't able to take it. Some of it already went out to a local clinic, but we finished with the homebound, and we'll be starting their second round, I think next week, unless they had the Johnson & Johnson. There was a few, very small percent. We are still getting a few calls from homebound that have missed it over the last months, the notices that we've had posted, and we're working to see how we can take care of them. The fire department has been terrific, sending out their paramedics and EMS to the sites, dividing up to 4 or 5 teams, picking up the vaccine from Outer Cape Healthcare and Howard, working with them closely on the signups, along with Diane Kane up at the senior center, calling all the people, coordinating all the paperwork going in. It's been a great team effort between the Council on Aging and the fire department. Both of them have been doing outstanding jobs for the community. Can't thank them enough. Then as we go into the next couple slides, just on vaccine, like I said, Cape Cod Healthcare, it's walk-in, or you can call them almost, get an appointment the next day or definitely within the week. But you can go to their website right there. Next slide also shows that they're also at the Melody Tent on different dates. This was last Wednesday, 3 to 7, but they are doing later nights and weekends. So you can call Cape Cod Healthcare at this number to get the most updated locations where you can go in for a walk-in, or if you want to make an appointment, which is very readily available. Next slide. I know Harbor Health of Hyannis has been offering clinics on a regular basis at the Barnstable Senior Center. You can call this number to get an appointment, and they'll let you know if there's also walk-ins available there. And I think, Mr. Chairman, if you wanted to mention anything here, because I believe you volunteered giving shots there, and you can let them know what the flow rate was.
They'll take anyone. You walk in. It's great that way. We're looking for more people to show. That's really what we're waiting for. Yeah, it's helpful if you call ahead. We can space and people won't have to wait as long if they all came at the same time. It's better if people don't all come when it opens first time there in the morning and then again in the afternoon. So yeah, but they'll take anyone.
Great. Yeah. So I mean, there's no holdbacks for people walking in, and the people working can check with Harbor Health on getting vaccinations at the Melody Tent at night or on the weekends. Okay. And my last slide, right? Well, we have the CVS on our own Station Ave right here. They're not quite a walk-in. They're not one of the CVS walk-in sites within Massachusetts, but you can order and sign up for a vaccine within 1 or 2 days. So that you have to do through their CVS immunization COVID-19 website. So people have a lot of opportunities for vaccine and walk-in availability. Our last slide as part of the presentation is know the facts, get the vax. We've put that up at the on our message board across from Town Hall. That let people know we've kind of switching from wearing the mask out in public, where the governor said if you can social distance, you don't need to wear the mask right now. So we've removed the mask signs up at the landfill because people have been doing better up there and they can social distance. And we're going to put new signs up there to remind people to get vaccinated. So we're hoping to do that this week. The signs that said mask up, we're putting them over to the voting polls tomorrow. I've been working with the town clerk, so they're going to move them over for voting. So while we're right here, just leave it right there, Erica. That ends my presentation. If anybody has any questions before the last set is the minutes, Mr. Chairman.
I just would like to put a plug in. You mentioned the election. There is a town election tomorrow. There are some important things on it, including 2 wastewater management proposals for things that have already been approved, but need to be specifically approved to make sure we continue the progress that we've been making.
Thank you.
Deborah, did you have something to say?
Oh, muted.
Of course I am. What I was gonna say is I was able to, my daughter, as soon as they were allowed to get the vaccination, she's 14, I was able to get an appointment Wednesday night for last Thursday at the Walgreens, and they were a number of children getting their vaccines, and they did a terrific job. So I know we plugged CVS, but Walgreens also is available.
Which location of Walgreens?
The one near the post office.
Okay. Right next in Yarmouth. Okay, I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's terrific to know then. I'll add that to my
They
list.
did and I was able to get an appointment literally the next day, and
Yes.
we were in and out. It was super quick. So
Great. It's confusing. We're talking about birthday parties and sleepovers and taking precautions, and 2 weeks from now, you don't have to do anything according to the governor. Like magically something's going to change. So it's confusing, I think, for all of us of what's going to take place. certainly the burden is going to be on people who are immunocompromised. It makes it more difficult for those individuals.
And the people who are not vaccinated, but unfortunately, they probably will not consider themselves a burden.
Now that they've gone to 12 and over, do you think if there's any are they still doing research to see if they can give them to younger kids or
Still researching?
Yeah, Moderna's got a study going now down to 6 months of age. So yeah, that's coming. Be great. Anyone else on the topic? If not, we'll move along on the agenda.
Okay.
See, they're not.
Yep, that sounds fine, Mr. Chairman. I'm just saying, here's the first page of the minutes, so we don't have to show them all, but if the board wants to make any comments, our secretary, our lead secretary, Erica, is here.
Anyone have any comments, edits?
they look good to me, Erica. Nice job.
I agree. I had one or two I wrote down. On page 3, at the top of the page is a motion. I think Deborah made the motion, I think. There's probably a spelling error on somebody's name there. That may be me. Okay.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't catch that, Hillard.
Yeah, no, I have a cousin named Hillary, but I don't think she didn't make the motion or seconded or whatever. Anyway,
I just added the D. It's all set.
you're good. Okay. On page 4, let's go to page 4. I have something with Bruce here. So page 4, last paragraph, 4th line up is Bruce made a statement. Well, no, it was, I think a person made a statement about what Bruce had said, and that was governor is removing all restrictions. I think it had a specific date. I don't know if Bruce, you said that or that you inferred that may be taking place. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they were going to remove all restrictions on August 1st.
I think you did say August 1st.
I think I did say August 1st.
I just said that was a definitive is, that's all. I just want to make sure you were quoted correctly. That's all.
Okay.
Not whether it's right or not. Is that what you said? That's fine. And the other one on page 4, I have some percentages that I was quoted as, and it needs to be changed. Under old and new business, I have my notes. It's hard to read it on the screen there. It was not 8%, it's 30%. It's probably in reference for people who do not plan on getting vaccinated.
Who do not plan to be, we had you as believing 8%, but it should be 30.
Yeah, 8% refers to the number of people who are not returning for their second shot. So maybe you could just clean that up.
Yeah, so I believe 8% not returning for their second shots, and 30% are not vaccinated. Okay.
Okay, thank you. No one else? We can make a motion on approving these. Oh, come on, somebody go for it.
I move we approve the minutes with those changes that Hillard suggested.
Deborah, thank you.
The one with his name.
It's a great opportunity. Someone second for the motion.
Second.
Hey, we got one. We got one. That's great. Thank you. Okay. So all in favor, just raise your hand and say aye. Aye. It looks like at least the majority on that. So let's.
It's unanimous. Charlie's has his hand raised.
No, I abstained. I wasn't present.
Yeah. Okay. So new and old business. I know there's one item.
All that I have, Mr. Chairman, is our next meeting will probably be tentatively now the first meeting in June, which would be probably back at Town Hall. We'll probably be live.
We can't keep zooming?
Yeah, get a note from your mother.
Oh, Charlie.
Charlie, you're mumbling. What's up?
For Bruce, are we gonna, I know we were, that Hillard and I were a subcommittee that weren't able to meet with town council yet. Is that something that we're still trying?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'll check with, on the first question is, are we meeting back at town hall? I'll check with the town administrator, because I know some people like to still do Zoom and have the meetings on Zoom, whether the meeting is going to be live or not. So I'll get you some more information back on that. Yes, the meeting with town council, I was in communication with town council twice last week. Unfortunately, he had a family emergency and has not been available for the last several days. We did talk trespass on Sunday. We're hoping to talk this week. He'll look at some type of wording that we would put on our next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Well,
Bruce.
hopefully it happens. That's great. Anything else? Old or new? So what's the date for the next meeting then in June?
June 7th. June
Thank you.
7th.
Thank you. Okay, I mean, if we close up this meeting, we'll have done under an hour and a half. That's good. It's before 7. So if someone wants to make a motion, we can leave.
I move we adjourn.
I second that, Mary.
Okay, all in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye,
Charlie?
gone.
We lost him already?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, he votes, so it's a unanimous vote.
Well, thank you. Okay, so the meeting's over. It's adjourned. Everyone, stay well.
Right.
Okay, take care.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
Yep. Nice haircut.